podcast land, you have found Dreamers Live. And this is episode 002.
Oh, we are rolling.
Yes.
We're at a 2.
And we are coming live to tape in the lair of the Pioneer Dream Studios. And we're thrilled to be here. I should mention...
Should you?
I should.
Oh, good.
That there's obviously some very cool music that starts and finishes our show. And that music is actually one of your songs.
Oh, wow. This is awkward.
This is so awkward.
So embarrassing. Thank you for using it.
So, yeah, that's one of your songs, and it can be found on your new album, Songs No One's Heard,
Yes.
or streamed or downloaded on any of your pre-existing platforms. So if you like those musics, go find them.
If you don't like it, don't say anything.
Yeah, just keep
Totally
it to yourself.
Fine. Thank
And,
you. Thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah. We should also mention that you just celebrated a birthday.
No, we should not mention that.
This is the 1 month of the year that you and I are technically the same age.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's
And,
exciting because normally you're like almost an entire year older than me.
Yeah, much older than I want to be.
Yes, I'm married to an older man.
But not that much older. I think we'll round our age to 30.
Okay.
And hello.
I like it. Honk from outside.
Yeah.
We already have a fan.
There you go. It is unfortunate that we are getting older. I mean, I guess as compared to the alternative, it's better. But yeah, I find the age thing. I made one. I'm not big on resolutions, as you know. I made one resolution for this newish year.
You did? You didn't even tell me about it.
It was simply to not act or feel old this year.
Oh, okay, that's good.
So, like the whole thing about getting out of chairs and making a noise when you get and then you try and get out of the chair.
Is that like the old man sounds?
Yes, all those things. And then the way you kind of hobble a little bit because you're sore in places you didn't think you should be sore in and all that kind of stuff.
Sore from, you're sore when you're sore from sleeping.
Yes,
That's
exactly. I am currently working a back strain right now.
Oh,
that
nice.
I can only trace back to turning in bed. And that's how you know. But I'm not acting on that strain because that's my resolution. I will not act or feel old this year.
How is that going? Because we're it's April now.
I'm doing okay. It's not so much the body as your awareness. Like I find myself saying things that I know are old man things, but I've been doing that most of my life.
You have been an old man since I met you when you were 18.
So you have the old man jokes.
But you're like a nice, fun old man.
Right. I'm not the grumpy old man.
Right.
As we talk about, it's your birthday, and I even sent you this text this year because it's a text that I sent myself when it was my birthday a year ago.
Okay, right.
And I said, it's your birthday, don't get weird. Because you and I have a tendency to overthink.
What? You're kidding. That's so unusual for us.
We overthink birthdays and life and everything in general. But I know, I've been a happy old man most of my life at some level or another. And the first sign that I knew I was acting as the old man was I would repeat jokes wherever I went. They were old man jokes. You'd go, Evangeline our daughter hates this joke that, you'd go somewhere and you were checking out and they would, as you were using your debit card, they would always ask you, would you like to add cash to that? Would you like cash with that?
Right.
And I would always say, not if it has to come from my account.
Right. Can it come from someone else's account?
But then you find yourself saying it everywhere. And Evangeline would call me on it and she'd say, Dad, it's the same joke you said yesterday. I said, it's the same joke. It's just a different audience. So,
hey, as long as you're spreading your material out, it's basically like you're on a tour of old man jokes.
Right.
And so each location, you can use them on different people.
Yeah, it's not the best, but since I've become aware of it, I've tried to. I feel like I could star in the insurance commercial where the thing about new homeowners trying not to be their parents.
Oh yeah, I love those.
Yeah.
Those are so funny.
So I feel like that's my life. My life now is dedicated to not being that guy, the old repeat old guy. But I did find myself, when you have a teenager living in your house, you find yourself saying things. Try not to repeat. What were your parental phrases when you were growing up? What were the repeated phrases?
Oh, gosh. I'm going to have to think about that. Also, my parents might be listening.
That's
so
okay. They don't know which parents you're talking about.
My dad, who's great, pretty much a saint, he would he was pretty cool about saying stuff, but if ever he got really frustrated with me, there would be an Ange, which was just like, yeah. So I hated to hear the Ange. He tried to reserve it for times that we really needed it, What were some of yours?
Well, my dad was famous.
Your dad had lots of fun saying,
did.
well, I shouldn't say fun, like lots of funny.
They were not funny at the time,
right?
He had a dollar waiting on a dime. Then he also had pull your head out, which was that was nice. He would do
dollar waiting on a dime.
Yeah, it's a dollar waiting on a dime.
So like he's the dollar, you're the dime. Okay, I could see him saying that.
I don't know where he got this phrase from. I think it's a repeated phrase from somewhere else. But he would say things like, "Golly, when you were leaving heaven, and they were handing out brains, you thought they said ham sandwich." And I don't know what that means. When you were leaving heaven and they were heading out brains, you thought they said ham sandwich. And I said, well, at least I left on a full stomach. And
That's funny. So what are some of the ones that you find yourself using with our almost teenager now?
Well,
mine, I feel bad. I feel bad about it now that I'm thinking about it. She is, God bless, she just moves in her own time zone.
She does not have a second gear.
She doesn't. And so a lot
God
of
help
times.
us if we ever have a fire or a true emergency and we have to expressly move somewhere quickly.
Yeah. I had to chill myself down last week because it was an especially slow week. And I kept saying, I need you to be faster. Be faster. And then I was like, she's going to have counseling over that later.
It's difficult because you don't want someone to inherit
yeah.
the trait of frenzy
yeah.
or anxiety.
Or having to feel like they rush around everywhere.
You know, and our world is in that kind of pace. So
yeah.
I'm not trying to, but there's just some things we just got to get out.
You just got to get
yeah.
out the car and go to your thing.
Now, I think one thing that Evangeline has that I had is what my dad referred to as selective hearing.
Oh, for sure.
So if you test her,
yeah.
her hearing is just fine. It's
right.
great. She has kind of actually my eagle sense of hearing,
yes.
which has been very troublesome in conversations that I didn't know she was listening.
You guys can hear anything.
But it's when she gets preoccupied with something else. You could, and I have done it. I've stood beside her
yeah.
and nearly shouted, and she cannot hear it.
I know.
Wherever her mind is, it's in someplace else. And,
that's right.
But I think the phrase that came out, that I caught myself on
yeah.
this week was, there are two kinds of people. And if you find yourself saying, there are two kinds of people in the world, honey,
yeah.
and then, but it applies to different kinds of people, then
yeah.
you've already ruined your phrase. The whole place that you're starting from in that argument is already ruined because there are multiple kinds of two kinds of people.
That's a good point.
But there was some scenario, it's like when you get a teenager in your life, and speaking of, let's get morbid for just a second. So since we're talking about,
I've been waiting.
Since we're talking about birthdays anyway, you think
yeah.
to yourself, when you have a teenager, I may not be with this person
yeah.
the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Are there any gifts, any traits that I could give them that might give them a better than 50-50 chance of having a happy life
right.
from here on out?
Yeah.
And so that's where this phrase popped into my head the other day. It was like, there are two kinds of people, So she was describing a scenario. Someone had made some decisions, and within those decisions, it had not gone well.
Okay.
Whatever choice that person made had not gone well.
It's like a friend at school or...
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that person was then trying to decipher or figure out why that decision had not gone well. And then it came down to, well, it was so-and-so's fault that X, Y, and Z happened.
Okay.
To which I wanted to respond in a way that I thought might help her, which mm-hmm. is there are two kinds of people in the world, those who blame and those who own. And and we see that a lot. So if you are if it's always constantly somebody else's fault, that's a challenge, versus being in a place and seeing a decision or a choice you made and owning it. So, like if
yeah.
we, as parents, if we correct and I say, hey, honey, and she lives only because we're older parents and we've experienced some stuff, mm-hmm. she lives in a pretty continuous state of grace. Like she knows
yeah.
if she does something wrong and just owns it, mm-hmm. that there will be a lot of grace in that.
Sure.
So when you go to make a correction or you go to draw someone's attention to something and then it's always denial or it's always pointing to somewhere else,
yeah,
that's frustrating. Because you're like,
sure.
hey, you just know that if you just own it, we're going to work
yeah.
through this and find a way through it. So we were in that space recently, and that's where I thought there are two kinds of people: those who own their decisions, own even the consequences of those decisions, and then the people who always blame someone else.
Yeah.
And the more you and I were kind of talking about that, and I thought there is just to clean this up just a second here.
Sure.
We're not talking about there are places in your life that you get to that if you live long enough that you can start to identify where pain came into your life.
Yeah, we all have those entry points, and I think that they're different for different people.
Yes.
I mean, there's some of them you might look comparatively and think that gosh, that was really something tough. But all of us experienced things growing up or in our earlier life that that do bring in pain, and we bring it to others.
Where that pain ends up shaping us, and then it ends up shaping some of our responses. And so when you are fortunate enough to, either through the help of friends or through the help of getting older or through the help of a counselor especially, find the entry points of pain in your life, that it can be incredibly liberating and freeing.
Sure.
Because you think, oh yeah, that's this scenario with this parent or this scenario with this sibling or a friend or a spouse let in a pain or caused a pain, and that consciously or subconsciously affected my responses from that point on.
Yeah.
So that part of that experience is really, really healthy. I think it's maybe when we don't move past that and we stay in that place, and then that person or that situation becomes the default blame then for everything else that happens in our life.
Yeah.
You can't have a healthy relationship because of your mom. Or you can't have a healthy relationship because of this thing that happened in school.
Sure.
Or this life experience you have. And then they become the blame for everything else that happens in your life, the bad. And as you and I were talking about, that's such a dangerous place because there's no hope in blame. Because there's awareness of that situation will bring freedom, but blame now says, I can't be okay until that other person somehow rectifies this, until that other person either acknowledges what they did,
right,
or rights the wrong somehow, or somehow goes back and undoes that thing. And so when we live in that place of blame, of blaming somebody else, there's no hope for change for us.
Yeah.
And on the other side of that, like for our daughter, it's like if you have a sense of ownership to those decisions, then you can say, yes, I did that thing. So next time I want to do that differently. Or why did I do that way? Why did I talk out of turn? Why did I make that mistake?
Why do you think it's so difficult for some people, or maybe most people, to admit when they have made a mistake? I mean, that's what I think about is I even, for me, I don't know why, I feel like most often if I do something wrong, I am able to maybe at least eventually say I can see my role in that. But I also have the security of knowing that I am loved and accepted by the people in my life. And so I know that there's room or like margin for error, if that makes sense. But it makes me wonder if people that struggle with that are insecure they don't feel stable enough, or they're afraid to look at maybe what role they might have played in something.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think to admit that we have made a mistake or to admit that we were wrong in a scenario does take a certain level of confidence that we're going to be okay in that.
Yeah.
But when we are too insecure to admit our role in something, that's a really difficult place to get out of. And that's where I think the help of counselors and the help of, especially, in our lifestyle or our life case, there's a certain spirituality that's played in that. So I was not always that way. I grew up, for whatever reason, as a pretty insecure kid. And it wasn't until I got older, late teens, early adulthood, and discovered spirituality and discovered relationships that way that I felt, and that I started to begin to receive and accept love, that gave me a foundation place that I could say, now I feel comfortable enough
And say
that I can say I was wrong. I feel safe.
So when you
safe
were
you use the word security, I think that's a great word for it.
yeah,
security.
you feel secure enough. Like I know if I admit something to you for the most part,
Yeah.
that you're still going to love me. So there's
Right.
really no reason. I don't have to fear admitting that.
Yes.
Because I know that you're still going to love me. So that
Yeah.
is a safety and security. I think a lot
Which
of people
is the-
don't have that.
Which is the place that we have, and only because we were older as parents.
Yeah.
That's the place that we started with Evangeline, is
Mm-hmm.
to at all times let her know you are safe.
Yes.
You are okay. Yes, there may be frustration. Yes, there may be correction. Yes, there may be whatever.
Yeah.
But you always know that you are loved here and accepted here, and this is going to be okay. So whatever happens and whatever choices have been made, or even mistakes have been made,
Mm-hmm.
you can come back to the safe place and know that it's going to be all right.
Do you think it's hard for some people to even admit to themselves that they might have played a role in situations?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I think we end up deceiving ourselves a lot of times and not being willing. And I think that may be the same reason that the truth is we're not giving ourselves love, or we don't feel valued or loved enough,
Right.
even by our own self, to admit that we might have caused something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, the hard part of that is until we get to that place, until we admit those things to ourselves or even to other people, it's very difficult to move beyond that. It's very difficult to have healing from something you can't admit happened.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to admit, it's very difficult to find healing from something you can't acknowledge in the first place. So that pain tends to tag along, tends to stay with us, and those situations remain unresolved in the process. And that's the personal responsibility. I can't necessarily demand that from somebody else. They may not be willing to give that on that end. So waiting again for somebody else to acknowledge what they did, that's different from, I think, where we are right now as a society in this term of holding people accountable.
Yeah.
So there's a pendulum shift that's happened for us, especially in America recently, but I think it's globally too, where as a society we've begun to acknowledge that there are a lot of behaviors and a lot of societal patterns that were not okay.
Yeah.
And we've begun to hold society more accountable with that. So you can reference the Me Too stuff, even
Sure.
though that gets political and people have different things on it. But
Sure.
But it is saying that it's acknowledging as a people group this behavior of taking advantage of people is not okay, and we're not going to allow it to happen anyway. That's different than demanding on a personal level somebody else admit something or do something in order for us to be healed and move on. So
Yeah.
I can go back with a counselor and say, oh yeah, when this happened as a child, this pain entered into that, and that's probably why I've adopted this behavior or this mental pattern or this thing.
Yeah.
And I can find healing in that regardless of what that other person does. So if I have a problem with an uncle and something in my childhood, that uncle said something or did something that emotionally scarred me.
Sure.
And I find that I come to that place either on my own or through counseling or with friends or whatever.
Yeah.
I can find healing in that by identifying that place, even if my uncle never comes back and says anything. Now, it would be great if they did.
Yeah. But it's pretty rare.
But it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
But I am free because I've acknowledged that place, And so I think on the flip side of that, we can, in any place in our lives, I think, that has this kind of place of conflict. So you have a conflict with a sibling, you have conflict with another person, you have whatever.
Coworkers or boss,
Yeah.
employers.
We can ask ourselves, what role am I playing in that? What role am I contributing in that?
Yeah.
So, speaking of family, we had a family scenario a long time ago, and this person was constantly telling everybody else in the family how they had wronged them.
Right.
And
Which
it
is
was-
common. Everybody
Yeah.
has a family member or two. And maybe it's us.
Well, yeah, if you don't have one.
It might be you.
So in this relationship with this family member where everybody was wrong,
Yeah.
and this person was demanding retribution, as Sally would say, and then you are going back through and you're saying, man, I don't see that scene the same way at all.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
remember that experience in that way at all. And trying very difficult to look at myself in that scenario you're describing.
Yeah.
But that was never my intention, and I don't see it that way.
Well, and isn't it amazing that you can have the same experience that you
Yes.
share, or same situation, two people walk into a room,
Yeah.
the same thing happens, but each of those persons sees it a different way.
Right.
And that's perspective.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and if you don't recognize that, then you're always going to think only yours exists.
Yeah.
But if there's anything we've learned from relationships and getting older, someone's perception is their perception, whether
Right.
you like it or not.
Yeah, and I think that was what you're saying was kind of this place that I got to in this relationship that was really healing for me, which was, okay, this person keeps listing essentially my crimes against them.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at that saying those things did not happen that way. And I know they didn't happen that way. And,
Yeah.
and the rest of the family kind of saw it that same way. But in that place, like you're saying, I realized, but this is their perspective as far as they know, whether I intended to or not.
Exactly.
I hurt them.
Yeah, they are
And
hurt.
and that person has pain.
Yeah.
And so I could go back and knowing that awareness, I could apologize.
Yeah.
I am sorry that you were hurt in that scenario. I am sorry that
Mm-hmm.
that you had that pain, and I apologize for any role.
Do
I
you
had.
feel like I was going to say, do you feel like there's a way to do that and still be true to yourself and your own perspective? What's a way to do that? Where you're not just.
Well, you're really good at that.
I
so
don't know if I am.
We, as the viewing and listening audience knows, we're married.
What?
And we've been married for about.
This is awkward.
We've been married for
Where'd
more
you
than
come up
5 minutes now. So
Yeah.
there are scenarios where you and I, once every 10 years, might have an argument.
Oh, yeah. We're about due for one.
Yeah.
So,
And so in the argument,
yeah.
you can look at that and know that person is crazy. That
Yeah.
person is off the rocker.
And
I
that
don't
is
know
how
why.
the look that I have for you.
I don't know why you're behaving this way. I don't know what you're doing this, and I don't know
But
why
you crazy.
But you're taking this whole thing, off.
Yeah, off to another
yeah.
deal.
And so when I have been the perp in that, the perpetrator, as they would say on the Highway 50,
Right.
when it's me that's at fault, and we know it's at fault, you have still been generous in your response to that by saying, hey, I'm sorry for whatever I contributed to this. I'm sorry for the role I played
Yeah.
in this explosion and this fight and this argument. And
Right.
it's not saying, hey, you're right and I did this wrong thing. It's saying whatever role I played in this,
Mm-hmm.
I just want you to know I'm sorry for my role in that.
That's a good.
And then somehow that disarms the other person enough that they can usually acknowledge their own.
Yeah, because by someone saying I'm sorry for the role I played in that, it in essence is saying to the other person, it's not all your fault.
Right.
This was something that happened to us together, and
But
I
it's
think
also
it's
not admitting to stuff that you didn't do.
right.
You know,
You can
so,
say, I'm
yeah.
sure that I played a role in that. One of the things I think is, and our family is certainly not perfect. You could come in on any day and we're as normal or less normal at anyone.
Right.
But our little family, I think one thing that we're good at is we will say, we've always been of the ilk to apologize
Yes.
to each other. I apologize a few times a day probably.
Yeah.
But if we get into it about something or with our daughter, I'll say, I'm really sorry that I am feeling grumpy this afternoon.
Right.
I didn't get enough sleep. And
Yeah.
that doesn't excuse my behavior, but even just that much of an admission of my humanity in that, the
Yeah.
other person will say, oh, I understand. I felt grumpy too.
Right.
Or I'm sorry, I feel tired. So to be able to just lead with that, and then we're pretty good at giving each other grace and saying, it doesn't excuse it, but I understand.
There's a really interesting pattern in that, and an interesting byproduct of that, which is in those moments where I can see that I hurt you, or that I was wrong in the way that I behaved towards you, or to Evangeline, or really to anybody else, and I choose in that moment to apologize or even ask your forgiveness. There's the byproduct of that is this intimacy that happens.
I know. It makes
And
you feel closer.
And I find that really interesting. I think
Yeah.
it's probably because at some level I have now made myself dependent upon you, or at the very least, I have humbled myself to you.
Yeah.
And so the act of humbling myself to you and apologizing that way, admitting this thing, and now in a sense saying that I am dependent on you to respond,
Yeah.
or in that way.
Yeah.
Dependent's probably not the right word, but that somehow brings in this intimacy, and we are generally closer together from that moment on than
Yeah.
we were even before that. So here we are, we keep pushing admitting we are wrong off
Yeah.
in order to kind of make ourselves feel more secure, or
Yeah,
to not
justify.
admit failure, or to try and bolster ourselves. And yet
Yeah.
the very thing of admitting that wrong is the thing that ends up elevating us.
Yeah.
Is the thing that ends up healing us, is the thing that ends up taking us to the next place.
Yeah. That's
So
so
we are
interesting.
avoiding it because of the pain and then the insecurity of
Or
it.
sometimes just the pride, you
Yeah.
know, of,
But it's the act of saying that to ourselves or to someone else that ends up elevating us in the process.
yeah, humility is very interesting because when you're in that moment and you feel like you were the one that was right, or,
Yeah.
you know, you've had this skirmish, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Everything within you does not want to give
Right.
that up.
Right.
It is like this fierce holding on to, but as
Yeah.
soon as you let that humility enter your heart and let it soften and then can
Yeah.
say it to the other person, it immediately begets the same thing from the other person. It's like humility
Yeah.
brings humility from the other person.
But I think I think there is a principle to that, which is you don't have to be wrong in order to say you're sorry.
Oh.
You don't have to be wrong in order to
That's
bring healing in a moment.
Yeah, you're
and,
right.
And I'm sorry this happened. I'm sorry this is here. I'm sorry. It's not trying to add to someone's bias or add to someone's
Yeah.
delusion,
Right.
but it is giving this atmosphere or this comfort level or this grace level
Yeah.
that we can all feel comfortable admitting or saying we're sorry or apologizing or moving on.
Yeah.
And
I like that. It's like setting an atmosphere or a
Right.
welcoming for humility and being willing to apologize.
Yeah.
I mean, if wanting peace in your relationships is your goal,
yeah.
and you're willing to humble yourself for that, even when you
Yeah.
know that you were right, that
Yeah.
you're sitting in the high school parking lot and you were right. But what's more important in your heart is the peace of that relationship
Right.
and that other person. Then that comes quicker. you
Well, I
know?
think because I think the relationship has the opportunity of going where you want it to go, developing into what you want it to develop into,
Yeah.
much more in a climate of trust and affirmation and grace than it does in a war of words.
Yeah.
So the more we ward each other, the more we view that person as the enemy, the more we view that person as the person who just needs to get it, then the less likely that relationship's going to go where you want it to go.
Yeah.
And it is hard. I mean, the idea of humbling ourselves, that's not an easy thing, especially in our current culture. And
Yeah, we're like the opposite of that.
Yeah.
I am right. Rights is rights, as we
Yeah.
say. You're
Yeah.
wrong.
Right.
This is just my opinion. This is just how I am, guys. And posting about it on all those
Yeah.
socials. And you can do that, but you're not going to have good relationships, and people aren't going to like you.
Right.
They're not going to like
Yeah.
you.
But again, I think that's this, so that, I don't want to do the whole, there are two kinds of people, but
Yeah.
if we find ourselves in a place where there is just this track record of broken relationships, broken jobs, and kind of stymied growth, and a lot of those cases you can look back and say, oh, this is a place where this person continues to blame
Others.
others.
And sometimes don't you think, I think there are times in my life where it hasn't necessarily been a person that I've been struggling blaming, but I
Yeah.
have often blamed maybe my heredity,
Yes.
my genetics, or even circumstances. Well, the 80s was just a rough decade.
If I had just gotten that job, if I had just gotten that scholarship, if I
Yeah.
had just gotten into that
That's
school,
right,
if I
yeah.
had just married that person instead of letting them go,
Yeah.
all those things, and then we have kind of arrested development.
Yeah.
Things stop there.
Yeah.
Because there's no hope in blame. You can't move forward in that. But it's the moment where we take stock of something and say, yeah, you know what? I probably was a little paralyzed by that mental block or that emotional block from somewhere else in my life, but I made that decision. And
Yeah.
now what can I do to move forward? What can I do to not repeat that mistake? What can I do to stop that mental gap in my brain so I don't keep repeating this pattern from here on out?
That's what I was going to ask you. And it wasn't like we sat down before we were going to talk about this and made a list. Maybe we should do that. what?
Require organization and time.
Yes,
Yeah.
what? But what are some things for those of us who struggle with blame, whether it's circumstances or other people, what do you think are some things that we could employ in our life and relationships that might help us be able to let some of that stuff go so that we can not be stuck?
Man, I'm a big proponent of the amazing work that counselors do. And I think it's so important because a lot of times there are things that are really nearly impossible for us to see in our own lives.
Yeah, so true.
Because of those mental blocks.
Yeah.
That someone from the outside can clearly see. And the great thing about counselors is a lot of times we don't know them. They're not just our friends and all that stuff. So there's a certain level of trust, based on their skill set, but also the fact that they're coming from the outside looking in from an unbiased manner. So the counseling thing is a big deal.
Yeah.
And you can, and then spiritual counselors are the same way. So I think that's a big thing. I think wanting change in your life is a big thing. So you have to, you have to get to a place, I think, where you think, I'm tired of this repeated pattern in my life.
You have
I'm
to
tired
want
of this, I'm tired of losing friendships and relationships and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to do something a different
Differently.
way.
Yeah.
And then I think some place, I think, again, counselors can help with this and spiritual counselors can help with this, but growing in a sense of confidence that you are loved and that to make a lot of these mistakes is a very human thing to do. So we don't have to constantly get caught up in defending ourselves. It's not on us to be perfect. It's funny. We happen to come from a Christian tradition, which is obviously not that unusual in America, but
Right.
But I remember early in that relationship and in that practice of trying to kind of live my life. Here we had this whole thing about forgiveness of sins,
Yeah.
but I probably spent a good 2 decades trying to live my life in such a way where I didn't need forgiveness. Because I didn't want to be dependent on
Somebody else.
to forgive me.
So you're like, well, I'm just not going to do anything wrong.
I don't want to. I would try so hard not to make mistakes or not to screw something up or not or even do those things because I didn't want to be dependent on someone else loving me enough to forgive me. And
Wow.
and that's such a weird thing when that is literally the cornerstone or the basis of that whole spiritual practice.
Yeah.
So there is something about receiving the love that other people have for us.
Yeah.
Learning to love and accept ourselves. And to me, that spiritual practice plays a really significant role in that.
Yeah.
And so that's a big part of it. The moment you can begin to get more comfortable and know that, as cliche as it is to err is human.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it.
Yeah. And if you believe and you can't accept, and this does take some work, I have days where I think, why would anybody love me?
Right.
I mean, but if you can work on as a practice, believing and accepting that you are worthy of love and that you are loved, this makes me tear up, then you know that it's okay to mess up.
Yeah.
I mean, we say that to our daughter all the time. She is a bit of a perfectionist in some ways. She's really bright and she's always succeeded and done well. And I will say to her, you are going to mess up.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to fail. And it's okay.
Yeah.
You are loved. And it's hard for her to believe that,
Right.
that she could be loved even if she does mess up.
Yeah.
And, life's going to get harder as she gets older and those things will happen. But if we can work on it, take that up daily, I am loved and I am created, in a special way, then I think we're able to say, yeah, I screwed this up and it's okay because I'm human. It reminds me of a mug that there's a friend of ours that owns a really cool store in our downtown, and it was really cute. And our daughter bought it for me, which was cute. And it says, even good moms say bad words, which made me laugh. But it was just the idea. I was like, that's a great Mother's Day gift.
Yeah.
But that's just on a very simple level. You're still good.
Yes.
You're still loved.
Yeah.
You're still the beautiful person that you are, even if you really wreck some stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because we don't afford that to ourselves that it's hard for us
Yes.
to not afford it to other people.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, as a self-proclaimed or self-described introvert, which is not, there's nothing wrong with that. But, as you have said, I'm an introvert that can be an extrovert when I decide to.
You're an introverted extrovert.
And I like to think of myself more as bisocial. So, so I'm an introvert at times, and then when I have to or need to, I become an extrovert.
I like it. Sometimes you identify as an extrovert, sometimes you identify as an introvert.
But in the last couple of years, I have made a decision to be more connected to people.
Yeah.
And that has changed the way I see myself and enabling me to receive love more from other people and see the value of it. It's also changed me in the sense of knowing that I can love others more and the great joy there is in now expressing the love I have for people and the beauty I see in them. And that has liberated me and brought more joy and life in me than any number of alone and excluded moments. Now, I do need to recharge my batteries. Part of that is being an introvert, but I used to think I needed more of that than I do.
Yeah.
And this thing of loving other people and expressing that to other people has totally changed the joy of my life in that way.
Yeah, and it's funny because we do talk about community a lot, and don't you hate it in our society how words get overused? So that's a big thing, the word community, but it's a true word, and I think when we back to the list of things that can maybe help those of us who struggle with blame, when we are in community with other people, who we truly are is reflected back from those people.
Right.
So I may feel like a total shit. I've said shit twice in this podcast. I'm kind
now
of proud.
We've
2 cussings.
We've got to tag this with an explicit rating now.
Even good moms say bad words.
That's right.
But anyway, I may feel like a total shithead, on a day. And if we're up here working by ourselves, and you know that I am anyway, so we're here. But then we get out and we end up and we go somewhere like the place where we work out, or you end up going to church or a group meeting, or whatever it is, that community. Those people love me.
Yeah.
They see who I really am, not the voice in my head that I'm struggling with.
Yeah.
And they are reflecting back to me who I truly am.
Yeah.
And when I feel that acceptance and that love back from them, I know it's okay that I screwed up today, because they're going to love me anyway.
Well, and I like it too that when we're with people, they end up drawing out good from me. So like I say, I mean, I may feel bad, I may feel anxious, I may feel grumpy, or whatever phrase you want to use, a descriptive term to it. I may be being an ass and want to be alone, like Oscar the Grouch.
Right.
But now I'm interacting with people, and those people are drawing out the good part of me.
That's right.
And before it's generally over, I generally feel more like my true self, and less like the imposter that I was before. So.
Yeah, so true. You remember when we had the idea to start Dreamers? I think some people look at the Dreamers concept and they think that we were sitting around like, you know what we ought to do? Let's start a group where we put interesting people together, and we'll really serve them with all this cool information, and it honestly
it's gone just like that, actually.
No, the people who know us know the truth, but part of the truth of it was the reason we actually took the initiative, and it was post-COVID after being really lonely.
Yeah.
We needed friends.
Yeah.
And we were lonely together.
Yes.
In the struggle to find people who were honest and genuine and authentic and open to new ideas, open-hearted, open-minded. And those things don't just happen. Sometimes you have to go find, your people. Yeah. And that's why Dreamers started.
That's
and
what
then
we call living intentionally. Yeah,
it was very intentional. And it was hard because it's easier to sit on the couch and watch Netflix.
Right.
And eat Cheetos. Dang, I like Cheetos.
Yeah.
But anyway, but do that with some friends, and it's been revolutionary in our life in a lot of ways. And I hope helps some other people just to have one another. Yeah. Just to have each other and have those people that I know me for my better self. Yeah. And that wants me to offer that to others.
Absolutely.
Wants to help me do that. So.
And we need you guys. And that's why we're happy to have this podcast.
This was a very deep talk today.
There are two kinds of people, friends. There are people that just watch and listen to a podcast.
Yes.
And then there are people who do all the things, like they like the podcast and they share the podcast and they forward the podcast and they subscribe to podcast and then all that kind of stuff. So if you would do that, we would love you even more than we love you now.
Yes, we do love you, but if you would do those things, that would be awesome.
And we need you, and we need your friends.
Yes.
And then if you want, you can email us, and if you have questions or you have topics you want to talk about or things you want to get back to us on,
I like that idea. Take
email
requests.
us.
We'll take requests.
You can put stuff in the response things, but if you want to email us directly, you can find that. You can find Anjanette's music that you'll hear now.
I mean, just in mere moments. They're going to hear it again. So exciting.
You can stream that or download that on any and all the platforms. If you want to get a hold of us, there's that information. You can find us on speakingofjaywebster.com.
Nice.
It's an easy way to get to that stuff. But we will be back with more podcasts soon. And until then, thank you.
Yes, carry on.
Peace out.